welcome to Show Boys. My name is Mike. I'm joined with my pals, Pixel Nick, Chodwick the Third, and Jordan. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Going well. How are you,
Good.
Nick? How are you, Chad?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm absolutely just stunned by the beard Jordan has on his face. Look
at it. It looks different every time he's here.
I know.
Right?
I haven't seen Jordan.
I make that joke, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
Right? Next time I'll be like clean shaven and
put a mullet.
Put on like 50 pounds or something like that.
You got 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, you're back in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Before we went live, I discovered I have a great talent. Look at this thumb dexterity.
It's arguable if it's a talent. It's arguable if it's a talent.
Oh, is it? What did he do to you with that thumb, Chad, that makes it arguably a talent? What did you discover?
Well, we don't talk about that on air. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We got another fun, spooky Halloween themed episode for y'all. Before we get into it, though, we got to shout out our top tier patrons, Tim B, Yusuf H, and Joe C. Thank you guys so much for your loyal support, and all of our other patrons. You guys are awesome too. We appreciate you guys just continuing to support what we're trying to do here. It means a lot, and we can't thank you enough. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, you can head over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Check it out. Just a way you can sign up to donate to us monthly. There's 4 different price points. They all come with different perks and benefits and rewards and all that stuff. Go check it out. And if you are feeling gracious, sign up. That'd be great. We also have a merch shop. You can buy like hoodies and shirts and crap. Say Showboys.
No way.
Check that out. We got a link in the episode description for that. But now that we got all that out of the way, we got an episode to do. We got 2 things on the slate tonight. We're going to be reviewing the MCU Halloween special, Werewolf by Night. And then we're going to get into, I guess, a kind of related topic. I guess, since they both have like werewolves in them. But the failed attempt by Universal Studios to launch their cinematic universe revolving around all of their classic monster IPs called the Dark Universe. And what happened there. And I was telling Nick earlier today that I wasn't like super excited to get into that, but then I was doing research for once for the podcast, and as I was doing that, I was like, oh man, I'm actually really excited to talk about this. So can't wait to get into that. But
Mike doubts my topic selection sometimes.
I mean,
it'll be interesting. That'll be a very interesting part of the show. I can't wait for that, actually.
We also are doing a little giveaway. We have speaking of Universal Studio monsters, we have the Walgreens. I'm trying to get it without the massive glare. Walgreens exclusive Wolfman Pop that we're going to give away tonight.
The exclusive soundbite.
Yeah. What we're doing for that, we of course, every week we put up an Answer the Boys topic in our Discord. We wanted to know what you thought about Werewolf by Night, if you've ever heard of the Dark Universe, what you thought about that. But to enter to win the pop, we asked you guys to submit your scariest, like, true story of something that happened to you or somebody you knew or know. So if you have a scary story, there's still time to submit it in our Discord. I would suggest probably doing it in Discord instead of the live stream chat because you have more characters and all that stuff. Jump in Discord, jump in the Answer the Boys, submit your story. We'll read them throughout the episode, and then we'll vote on air here which one we think is the scariest, and that will be our winner tonight. So that's kind of what's on the docket. What did you guys think? Let's go around just real quick, general thoughts on Werewolf by Night. Jordan, we'll start with you.
My general thoughts are it's a great special. It's a great little movie. It's a great episode, whatever you want to call it. It's probably my favorite thing the MCU's done on Disney Plus. And short and sweet and to the point. There was a couple confusing parts where they were meant to be confusing, but I thought it was great. Yeah.
Nice. Chad, you watched it today, yeah?
I did. I liked it. I liked that it was different from anything that we've got MCU wise. I like it as a Halloween special, but I don't really have any ties to like the old black and white horror stuff. So I don't know. I found it a little forgetful. Like I'll probably never think about it again, but I enjoyed it while I was watching it, and I enjoy the attempt to do something radically different from what they've done in the past with the MCU. And I honestly, going into it, had no idea that it was an MCU thing. I thought it was a Disney thing. So
nice. What about you, Nick?
I totally get what they're going for, but it just like doesn't land with me. Like I get it, and maybe it's that style. Like I don't really go back and watch black and white movies, and if I did, it'd probably be a similar experience. I just find myself distracted and like not paying attention to it, and that's kind of like how I found myself with this. Because like I look up, I'm like, I get what they're doing, and then I like look down at my phone or something like that. So
color.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, color. But no, I like the artistic attempt and like step out of it's the weirdest thing they've done since probably Wanda, right? And that's not just because of the color, but they're going with like a retro theme, if you will. Yeah, stuff did happen. I have no idea what the plot was or like what the motives for anything was, other than saving the thing. I'll call him because that's what he was.
It's Ted, bro. It's Ted.
But what everyone else was doing, I have no freaking clue, man. There's a rock. There's a old lady hag that ran the place, and nothing stuck.
So if you're listening to the audio version later on down the road, Jeff chatted in. He said, can we get the Nick synopsis, the classic Nick movie review? And that's what we
things happen.
Things happen. There was a rock, and
people
Ted
had conflict.
Yeah.
There were 3 parts: a beginning, middle, end. And then stuff happened and it ended. And it was good.
I think I thought
there was color.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Always got to throw color at the very end of the black and white stuff.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting for what it was. I personally like the more stylized visual things with going black and white, and then you see the bloodstone. I think that's what it's called, Jordan.
Right. Yeah.
Bloodstone, and it was red. And then at the end of the episode, color came back in. I like stuff like that. I liked the just like the old timey vibe it had with like the old music playing in the background. And this was set in the 30s.
That's the thing, man. Like it was hard to tell, right? I mean, am I the only
guards?
person?
Yeah, it was.
There was odd technology because the guards had tasers, because tasers always work, right?
Right.
We know that from Jurassic Park. And
electricity.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they had body armor. They were obviously fortified, like as a footman, and I don't know. There was times where it almost was like a more of a modern day thing, but they were. The different hunters are people of tradition, so they throw themselves into like a labyrinth or a maze of.
Well, it also seemed like, aside from the music and the black and white, just like the way they spoke and delivered, and like the tone of their voice had that like old timey production.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it
does.
Exactly.
It's like Sin City. Yeah, it's like Sin City.
Yeah,
it's got that
I
old
love that movie. Great
and
movie.
that's what. Yeah, literally, that's probably a top 10 movie for me. And I did wish that it was a little more stylized, this thing, but I get that it's only like a 45-minute Halloween special. I didn't find it very 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 stylized. to that point outside of like
Yeah.
the red gemstone.
I'm
That's it,
confused.
so, yeah, it was a perfect timing.
Oh man. Yeah, and I like the concept of the story. Um, the concept of the hunters and the almost like Van Helsing like society that they have going on here, protecting the world from monsters. I liked the design of Ted. I thought he looked really cool. I thought it all looked better in black and white, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Like at the end when the color kicked in, I was like, go back to the black and white. It looked
Yeah, they almost did
actually
too
looked
good
lot
of a
better.
job, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, Jordan, why don't you if you can give us like some background on it? Like where did this come from comic wise? Do you know anything about this organization and like stories tied in? What were they trying to do with this?
the organization, there's obviously a group of hunters, but Ulysses Bloodstone, the guy who was like the animatronic dead guy, which obviously I'm sure that wasn't his actual body, leading me to think it's more animatronics, right? So if you're familiar with DC's Vandal Savage at all, that character,
Oh yeah.
he's basically a character who was he was a caveman, and a asteroid came down, crashed, and basically he got too close to it and he got eternal life off of it, and that's what allowed him to live through every age of man and become such a powerful fighter, warlord, and become so rich through all this stuff. Ulysses Bloodstone had the same type of origin, except there's a meteorite and it was the Bloodstone itself. And basically what that really did, it's like it was embedded in his chest, but it killed the rest of the tribe around him. And it gave him just your classic like super soldier type of setup. So over time, he became more of a monster hunter. I believe the stone itself weakened monsters from their actual power. That's why he was able to always overcome them and slay them and such. But he himself is, he was in like the mid 70s. He was a character, and that's when they really started the bringing Frankenstein and Dracula and all them into Marvel Comics, and they kind of just based it around that. That's what comics usually do. They take classic characters and put a twist on them, and then add extra characters around them, right? In other literature, like Van Helsing, he's not a comic book character, but you could say that Blade is kind of a version of that, right? And lots of things. So Ulysses Bloodstone was like that, and even Elsa Bloodstone, she was actually her first appearance like in 2001 or 2011.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but she's a relatively new character. So they've connected those two obviously, and they've gone through it. But the core of these characters, like Jack Russell, the werewolf. Spoiler alert. He came out in 71, and then you have Man Thing in 71 also. So there was really the boom of the horror
Ted?
characters. Yeah, Ted. Yeah, Ted Salis' Man Thing. It's kind of funny. Jerry Conway. He was created by Jerry Conway, and Jerry Conway and Len Wein, however you want to say it. They were roommates, but Len Wein was the creator of Swamp Thing. One of the creators.
I was about to say,
Thing.
is that like Marvel's Swamp Thing?
Yeah, they were roommates, and both of these characters were like, I think Man Thing came out in May, and Swamp Thing came out just like a day or two before, or vice versa. Yeah, it was crazy. So there was obviously there's like, it's way too. You have Alec Holland, Ted Salis. It's just,
right.
There's just something, I don't know. They're both scientists. They both become heaping piles of moss.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were roommates, so they were probably like, let's just design the same character and see which one gets more popular over the years.
I mean, that's pretty much the Marvel DC landscape anyways.
Right.
I mean, and that's okay. It's one of the greatest things is, you always see like the fanboys fighting it out, right? But like they're sitting there arguing while the DC and Marvel executives are playing golf, like nerds,
Right. Yeah.
Just give us your money. So it's like it's silly to even think they're even remotely against each other. It's it's part of the it's part of what drives money, right?
So
competition.
Does Bloodstone's organization does it play a part in the comics? Like what is the organization called again?
I don't remember the name of the organization. I don't remember the organization even in the comics. I'm sure there was a couple of different ones. But I feel like this was kind of an amalgam of a lot of things that happen in the comics, like different random hunters. They're kind of like red shirts in the comics, right? They're there to die. They did that with this, it seems. But I'm sure that organization did some, maybe probably more modern, but they're really just the core of something they're just monster hunters. Right. And there's a lot of different groups of monster hunters out there, going back to Blade, right? Blade obviously can't participate with them because he's a monster, right? He's they would know that pretty quick.
Just like Jack.
Right. Which honestly, jumping back to the original thing, I actually, when I first saw the trailer for this, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the board game One Night Ultimate Werewolf. But everyone draws a card, and you have to basically, through social deduction, find out who the werewolf or werewolves are around the table. And you have to vote them. And then when you vote them, they're killed. And if the villagers vote off the werewolf, the villagers win. But if the villagers kill another villager, the werewolves win.
It sounds like Among Us, dude. Like they ripped that and turned it right into Among Us.
So Among Us, those video games are based off these social deduction games, which actually originated as it was like a state funded psychiatric deduction thing that they would do to screw with people.
Yeah.
But it really is like Among Us, but it's been out for a very long time. But anyway, so I thought they were going to do that with this. I thought they were basically like, one of these hunters are a monster, and you're all going to go out there and find out which one of you is the monster, and whoever kills him wins, right?
Yeah.
But instead, they kind of treated it like a labyrinth of a minotaur or something like that, right? And which is cool. It was cool. I thought, I don't know.
So Blade's name has come up a few times. And we know that Blade will be introduced later on in either this phase or the next phase. I think probably the next phase. Is this kind of laying groundwork for monsters in the MCU? I know Morbius isn't technically part of the MCU, but there's some weird crossover stuff with Spider-Man things. What are they trying to do with Werewolf by Night? Well, in the larger MCU, or is this just like a one-off, here's a fun Halloween special type thing?
But probably both. Moon Knight appeared in Werewolf by Night 32, and that's the first appearance of Moon Knight. And so Moon Knight has been around a lot of very paranormal things in comics, Midnight Suns, and just these hunted monsters too. We saw him fight the Nubian, demons.
Nubarak
TV show. Yeah, there you go. But Blade appeared in Tomb of Dracula #10. So which obviously isn't that crazy because he's a vampire hunter, right? But again, we're stuck in the 70s with all this stuff, right? So it's just a push forward with it. And I think there's a lot of room to be made with it. I mean, they know that fans are kind of tired of the Marvel formula. So it's, see what you can introduce She-Hulk, you can introduce Moon Knight, you can introduce all these different characters, and you can easily create two of the best Marvel teams without even worrying about the Avengers. One is the Defenders, and a Moon Knight, Daredevil, She-Hulk, Doctor Strange, all major parts of the Defenders at times. And then you can create the Midnight Suns, which is the paranormal Avengers team, or paranormal, like Justice League Dark, basically, right?
I was going to ask about that.
Right, yeah. So you have Blade, you have Moon Knight, who goes back and forth between that. Daredevil's shown up in it before. Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I think they announced Midnight Suns movie, didn't they? In one of the phases.
Was it a movie or was it a game?
There is a game coming.
There's definitely a game.
There's definitely a game coming, but.
Which I see a lot of the movie. I just don't know what's I don't know what's real anymore. Every movie's been announced, And as I gotten older, I'm like, you know what?
Right.
Good for them. We'll see if it happens, right?
Yeah, that's true. Stuff definitely gets put out into the ethos way too early.
So you get the 70s boom happening right now of the Marvel characters and technically the Universal monsters all coming together, right? So it's It's fun. It's a fun mix.
Um,
I just
That's
want to see more
awesome.
Moon Knight.
yeah,
Yeah, mate, yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I'm excited because I could see. I personally really enjoy Justice League Dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool team, really cool run of comics. And man, I would love. Obviously, the DCEU is literally a hot pile of
Right.
garbage. So
No, I don't.
I'll take whatever I can get. And if Marvel wants to do a Midnight Suns, like their version of Justice League Dark, like I'm here for it. Let's do it. But I mean, I really want to see Swamp Thing like on the big screen, or like
Right.
rip the series
Never.
that only lasted a season.
It's a good season, and that
I
was such a good
still
season.
I haven't watched it because I'm afraid that
Don't rob
I'm
yourself,
gonna
man.
fall in
Watch
love
it.
with it and then just be like, this should have lasted.
Yeah, you should watch it. Don't rob yourself of. I mean, if you're a Swamp Thing fan, just watch it as it is, and just know that the Swamp Thing just happens after that. It's a great series.
He's still out there, Mike. He's still doing
out
his
there.
thing.
He
We
is
still get to
actually.
see
He
it.
was they and the CW fucking crisis thing that they did when they started flashing past all the different Earths. That Swamp Thing was
Nice.
staring at the firework in the sky.
It exists somewhere
Yeah.
out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like you said, the main premise of the movie here, we got all these hunters gathered at Ulysses Bloodstone's estate here. He's died recently, and they're, as tradition goes, performing this ceremonial hunt to see who will be the new leader of this group society of monster hunters. Basically, all the hunters go in. The bloodstone is fashioned somehow to the monster they're hunting, which, like you had mentioned earlier, it weakens the monster, but it also, like, riles them up, makes them angry, so they're feisty. Whoever's able to complete the hunt and get the stone is like the new leader of this group. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hunters and Elsa, or is it 3 hunters and Elsa? Because we have the tall, skinny lady in white. We have Jack. We have the bearded dude with the big axe. We have
Asian.
Okay, we have the Asian. Then we have like Wesley Snipes Jr. So there's 6. There's 6 total people.
Yeah. There were supposed to be 5, and then Elsa just showed up out of nowhere, and they're like, "Okay, 6 it is."
Yeah, Elsa being the estranged or whatever daughter of Ulysses.
Which I would have protested. I'd be like, isn't there some sort of conflict of interest here? I feel like if she was supposed to inherit this, she would have. And...
Right. I think they even did that, and the stepmom or whatever was like, nope, it's cool. there's like, okay. So they go into this hunt, which is a labyrinth type thing, like Jordan said, almost Hunger Games-esque. She's like, there are weapons out there. You just go and find them and kill the monster. Along the way, the hunters are even killing each other because they want to, try to be this leader of this society. Long story short, Jack is actually trying to save the monster because he himself is a monster. The monster's name is Ted. Jack is actually a werewolf, and he somehow recruits roommates. Elsa. They are roommates out in the woods. He recruits Elsa to help him out. He's like, hey, listen, you help me get Ted out of here. You can just have the stone. I don't care about it. I'm only here for Ted. Then they get Elsa and Jack get captured. Elsa and everyone else finds out that Jack is actually a werewolf. Then a werewolf fight happens. Of course, Jack remembers Elsa, doesn't hurt her. She gets the bloodstone. Ted and Jack get out of Dodge. The end. So, yeah, I guess, like, what did you guys think of, like, the execution of the story here? I guess we'll start with you, Nick. Like, how do you think it actually all played out and worked, like as a story as a whole?
I think having all the context Jordan does helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I understand it a lot
hopefully
more
you enjoy
now.
it here because it won't be on the next segment.
Yeah. Yeah. So typical Nick, I liked it. It was good.
He's like, I saw it, I heard it,
I saw it,
and I felt it.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt it deep. Didn't the mother end up like pulling out like the trump card and be like, nah, never mind, it'll just be me. I'll just be in charge. Didn't she end up doing that?
I think when she was like the last one to survive, yeah.
Yeah.
The two that were captured at the end, yeah.
But her daughter was still there.
She didn't want her to.
Yeah, but she also locked her daughter in the cage with the werewolf. So.
Alive, yeah. I think she allowed it because she thought that she had no chance to even remotely make it. But
yeah, I mean, it's good for 45 minutes. This here thing, I thought it was like more like an hour and a half, and then I hit play and I was like, oh, it's a Disney 58 minutes, so a strong 45.
Which is really like 40 minutes, right?
Yeah. So they did go through quite a bit in a short amount of time. They even had some lull moments like out in the labyrinth, which I thought was admirable for how short it was. Because like the werewolf and what's her face had their like what are you doing in here? Like close the door, and the door locked. I didn't get that. Like, why did the door, like he opened it and she was hiding in there, and then like when it shut, it like locked them in there? I didn't get that.
The people out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was like actually shut yet, or if like she had just somehow, like if it was open and Elsa like scurried in there, and then Jack was, right behind before she was able to like latch the door or something.
Yeah, it might be like one of those like one-way, mouse traps. You could walk in and it closes behind you. That's it. No way to get out. Which is counterintuitive to her great aunt or whatever, who thought she'd come back and escape. I got the key to get out of the coffin, they use it for the door. So yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
I did like the like marquee lights on the like cement coffins.
Yeah.
That was part of the weird technology.
Weird technology. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, the guards really threw me off. Because at first, I was with you, Mike. Like, okay, this could be quite old. But then these weird like sci-fi guards show up, and
I didn't even
very Starship Troopers kind of. I was like, what's
their,
going on
their
here?
gear, like just the armor and the helmets looked way too like sleek.
Honestly, they also reminded me of the Superman soldiers and like the future, like dark side future.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
but like
the
tasers, I didn't even think like I wasn't even bothered by the tasers being in like 1930 or whatever. I was like, yeah, just whatever.
Hitler did some crazy shit,
Yeah, but look how sleek those helmets are. That definitely can't be from the 30s.
Yeah, it's stylish.
What about you, Chad? Did anything like particularly stand out to you, or any like major likes or dislikes?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like it just really felt like a Halloween special to me, right? Like it felt a little disjointed. It didn't feel like we were really trying to tell that much of a story. It was more action oriented. I did like in the beginning, it felt like, I don't want to say it was a nod to Castlevania, because I'm sure Werewolf by Night came out well before Castlevania. But just the Monster Hunter thing, it just felt very Castlevania to me, with the different Monster Hunters and the different families, and especially the graphics in the beginning, like the animated graphics they were showing, or whatever it was, stone drawings or whatever. It started off really, really good, and then it just got really like Halloween specially, I guess is the best way to put it.
Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
When they were showing all the different artwork, the one that stuck out to me was Gore, the God Butcher. Did you see him there?
Yeah.
I was like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a Goosebumps movie in a way, like the old school 90s Goosebumps movies, or something like that. That's the feeling. No, not to say I disliked that. I did like it. I just don't know that I would remember this 2 weeks from now. You know, I don't know if it made that much of an impact on me.
I do think that the ending scene, which I'm sure we'll get there, obviously, but the more modern and in full color is kind of like they brought it forward to the point of what the dynamics are going to be like.
Right.
So they gave this to you of like, this is where these people come from in this weird world where, you know, they know superheroes probably exist, but they don't care because monsters exist. So they're kind of numb to the idea. But even the superheroes don't know about the monsters. So it's a different veil. They live behind a veil in the world that people don't even know exists probably, and that's them kind of stepping it out in the end. Which that veil is probably the black and white monochromatics to color.
Multiverse.
Yeah.
Center of the earth where the Nazis rule.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, was there a Mephisto sighting or reference in the animated stuff or at all in this episode?
There could have been.
Because that was like a hot, button issue during Loki and WandaVision. Basically, everyone wants to see Mephisto show up and be responsible for something.
He's a hard character to do. DC and the Titans TV show did it with Trigon, but it's like
what a waste because
it's just like it's hard to do because like it's Satan.
Yeah,
you know, like the devil himself.
Such a cool villain, and like the whole Raven thing is so cool. And then like, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the first season of Titans, the battle with Trigon lasts like 5 minutes and he's dead.
He's not dead. He's
Mike, come on.
He's in the forehead. Yeah.
Don't make me go over there. Okay. Well, I stand corrected, but it still seemed like a way too
scary.
quick of an encounter.
It was absolutely way too quick of an encounter. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like for me, it started off real strong with the stylized approach to everything, from the looks to like the dialogue and story. But as it played out and the episode neared its end, the typical MCU stuff that I often complain about started to rear its head. The incessant need to always tell jokes and have one-liners, like every 3 lines. About halfway through the episode, those start popping up, and I started to
example.
Basically anything Ted says from like the moment they're in the crypt, or not Ted, Jack, from the moment they're in the crypt to the very last scene with Ted in the woods. I don't know. It's just like, does everything need to be
it doesn't.
A comedy?
Yeah,
it doesn't. Like have a one-liner?
No, and I will say this is my biggest issue with Man-Thing in it. Really, really cool. Man-Thing's power is generally it used to be whatever he touched just lit fire, but then eventually, really quick, it became if you were in fear of him, if you were scared of him, his touch would just burn you to a crisp, which we saw, right?
That makes sense.
Those kills were awesome. Those were really, really cool, and they did a great job with it. And I was even okay with him, being friends with, Jack prior to that. But like the dynamics of turning him into like kind of a cutesy monster, that's not.
Yeah, that's really, what I was going to ask. Is Ted from the comics, or is that MCU just slapping Ted over top of?
No, there was so this is really ironic. I don't know if you knew this or not, but R.L. Stine actually did a Man-Thing book.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
4 years ago, 3, I mean 5. I don't even know. Time goes so weird anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a 5-issue miniseries, and it was just horrible. It didn't go anywhere. Every issue didn't go anywhere, and Man-Thing's much like Swamp Thing, to where they're not meant to really be part of a team. They're supposed to be like an effect. If you go to a planet, there's like a horrible like reason that there's a horrible thing on that planet waiting to kill you. These guys are like, if you go on a mission in these woods, oh crap, I think Swamp Thing's here. Oh crap, I think Man Thing's here. Right? It's like it's an area effect that you didn't plan on. It's a force of nature, and they're really trying to turn that into like a Han Solo Chewbacca or like, Star Lord and Groot thing. And I just hope that they, unleash that a little bit more. It's
to answer your question, Chad. I think Ted, like Man Thing, was a person named Ted who turned into Man Thing, just like Swamp Thing. So I think that's where they why they called him Ted in the special.
Right? Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Nick?
Oh, I was going to so the wall, the explosive, and that whole bit right there. One, bro should just set it in the crack from the get-go. If not on the first try, the second try. Definitely should not have taken him 3 tries with an unknown ticking explosive. Two,
he ran and picked it up. Yeah.
Yeah, he just kept picking it up. But also, I guess obviously the ruby reduces Man Thing's powers, right?
Seems to, yeah. It's a little bit. It seems more powerful in the MCU than it is in the comics, but
yeah. And obviously they got it off of him like right as he was going out of the hole in the wall. But the wall was also not that formidable. Like, couldn't just crawl over the wall on his own. Like, I know he's weak, but he could at least
see over it, probably. So, like, how could he not climb over it?
Yeah. So the escape was like cool, but it did have a very Halloween special, or like we came here to do one thing and we're not really going to worry about how it happens. It's just like, oh, there he goes, it runs off into the woods.
Right.
But it also reappears later on.
See, it's funny. I didn't even really think about any of that. I was so focused on the clue of a detonator and how it's new technology. I'm like, so maybe that's when were detonators created? When was the first detonator created?
Mephisto!
And the weird thing is it was very much like a James Bond wall detonator. Like, it was a sleek puck that even, I think, like, it beeped, it glowed, it did everything. I was like, man.
Yeah,
that thing's sharp, and he doesn't have any idea what it is. Like, he sounds like he has crawled out from under a rock, Jack.
Right.
And she's just casually like, "Hey, take this." So she's like secret agent.
Yeah, Elsa Bond over there.
It was like a digital detonator, right? Because they're technically because they're saying like the first detonator is created in 1865. Like, not dynamite, damn it.
Oh man, yeah. So
digital detonator.
I think the general consensus here is it was good for a Halloween special. Lacking in some areas, fun and exciting in others.
Real quick, 1960s and 1970s, the first like wireless digital detonators.
Interesting.
Right. And what's also more interesting, apparently I didn't know how to spell a detonator.
Fun watch if you're looking for something one-shotter on Halloween.
45 minutes. Really can't go wrong there.
It's quick. I watched it on my lunch break.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. You could probably hate it and still walk away with something from it for 45 minutes.
You should at least watch the MCU intro, like the slash on it. And
that was cool.
That was
cool.
I did
like the
really
new
cool.
intro.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones of that.
Before we move on, though, you said something about something you want to talk about the end. Did we already?
Oh yeah, I was saying I thought we'd get there eventually, which obviously here we are.
Spoiler alert.
Here.
I was just saying, like, it really shows you, like, in color, like, once the Bloodstone's attained, and it restores color to everything. It makes you feel like you're more modern day, and I think it really sets the precedent of where these characters are going to go from there. And I would say also one more thing too, like, they kept Jack's name out of all. I was telling Aiden this future stepson here not too long ago. It's amazing how many things that the comic book movies, DC and Marvel, change from the comics that are so cool, but they keep some of the stupidest shit.
Yeah.
All right. So, like,
Jack Russell.
Exactly, Jack Russell. Come
wolf
on,
dog.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's I just can't. I don't know. I just, like, you could just just call him Jack Russ. Anything, man.
Yeah.
Like anything. It's so easy. I just in 3 seconds I think of a better idea, and it's like comic book movies are just trolling me. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm just getting old and bitter, but I feel like they're just trolling me constantly.
No, I'm getting that same feeling. We all
Could be
are.
both.
Yeah.
We thought that about Thor.
Right.
So
Which, by the way,
go
ahead.
No, I was gonna say after Infinity War, like they no longer have taken themselves seriously. They're like, we've hit like the top of the top. Like everything from here is just like cash fodder. Like just throw it.
Right. I've always said it, end game in more than one way. But on Sakaar, where Hulk was obviously the champion, and they had the statue carved into the arena for him. Man-Thing's face is also carved into there. So Man-Thing had found his way to Sakaar at some point, became the champion, and was dethroned at some point. So it's kind of
he's fallen very hard. Or unless this is before.
This is probably I'm guessing it's before, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's gone a long way up from here, apparently.
Right.
Because that arena is much more robust than that little labyrinth.
Right.
One ply stone wall.
Right. No, exactly. Man-Thing is also one of the key features they use him in the books for is he's tied to something called the Nexus. And the Nexus is something that connects all these different worlds together, all these different dimensions, different right.
League of Legends.
Yeah, it's kind of so you can literally hop through different worlds and dimensions through.
Perhaps the thing that happened in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, perhaps.
Right.
Maybe?
Yeah, Madam Web and Man-Thing are gonna.
Get it on. No, I'm just kidding. Joe says it was decent. And he also said, "Oh my goodness, because of Jack Russell is a breed of dog. I get it."
I'm with him. I didn't get it until you guys said it.
Glad you're caught up.
Was there a post-credit scene? I didn't stick around.
No, there's not. No, I was not.
Nope.
No, okay.
Which I was happy to. I was like, finally, it actually made it even better for me.
Nice.
Right?
Finally.
Yeah.
Well,
post-credit scene on a 45-minute episode would be like 3 seconds.
I mean, the last half of WandaVision, every episode had a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
That was annoying. I was really annoyed.
It's just, I say, it just gets outrageous.
Just put it in the episode.
Just put it.
Put it before the credits.
Because again, you're taking like a staple from like your movies and using it to water everything else down.
Or use it like at the season finale.
Sure, I'm good with that.
Like every episode, just put it before the credits. Like
because the shows are like I'd be absolutely fine with that.
It's called a scene.
But this is another reason why I like this episode though, because it was different in almost every which way possible. And then even they're like, what's the post-credit scene going to be? And the director's like, come, I don't care. It's not going to be one, Yeah. But you have to do it. No, I don't.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You're the writer. You're the director.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into read some of the Answer the Boys stuff before we move on to the Dark Universe. We have 3 stories so far. Well, 2 stories, and then we were told to ask you, Jordan, about a story. So we'll start off here with Kumino. He says, haven't caught it, Werewolf by Night. But as for spookiest thing that's happened to me, when I was younger, my mom and I were walking home from her friend's house. There was a small church across from where we lived with a couple of graves. As we approached, we noticed something next to it. The closer we got, the better we could make out what it was. It was a ghost of a man and his dog. My mother asked me if I was seeing what she saw. I told her yes, we could see straight through them. As we turned into our yard, they started to move towards us. My mom straight up left me. She was walking so fast.
Keep up,
bro. No, not like that.
Keep up.
Man, that would be something to see, I would say.
Yeah.
So that was our first story. We got another one from Joe, Ugly Kid Joe Cross.
Oh, really?
Before I say that though, I think our Patreon episode this month. I don't know if I've ran this by you, Jordan, but as our resident paranormal expert,
I don't know if I ran this past you, but let me
I'm
do
thinking
it live.
about having a little like Showboys campfire story time. You know, it's October, it's spooky season. Let's just have a little story
fire
session with. I mean, we could. I literally have a fire pit, or we could sit on the deck or on the fire table.
We could do it like all together.
Yeah, dude. We'll just all get together and tell scary stories that happened to us. So sign up for our Patreon because that's
It's
gonna
probably
happen.
like the one person watching the show has been like, I can't wait for them all to get together, but I'm never gonna sign up for this Patreon.
Yeah,
and they've been like loyal the whole time. And then like, we're all gonna get together on the Patreon. He's like, God bless it. Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with Joe's story here. He says, and I'm not. See, Joe, he's sneaky. I don't know if I can believe this was true or not. So, Joe.
He's like, I'm the son of Satan.
75% of everything he says.
He's like, I am Mephisto. Yeah, no. Joe's delivery, like if you've ever watched his streams or been on, seen the episodes he was on the podcast, like his delivery is the same for joke, seriousness. Yeah. Like his tone never changes. He's just happy, chipper Joe. So with that in mind, when I read this, I was like, there's no way that's true. So sorry if I offend you, Joe. He says, that's messed up that you don't believe it happened in New Franklin, Ohio. I don't even know.
He gave the location. It has to be real.
True. That's how that works for sure.
Okay, so I'm trying to preemptively prepare myself for when my wife comes down and scares me to grab the baby monitor. I think either that or there it is.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's amazing.
Amazing timing.
Last week she turned the light on right as I said something about my lights being turned on.
Oh, that's funny.
What?
Because
it's orange and red for Halloween. Good night, I love you.
I just caught the short
welcome
of that.
To hell.
What?
And I should have known. I caught the short of that.
Oh,
so I thought that your light just flipped on randomly. I should have known that. Like I've seen her come down and flip the lights on like 30 times now. I should have known that was her.
Like I just finished saying the word light and pointing like this, and the light turns on. It was like literally the most
saw that
perfect
actually.
Timing. Yeah. Almost like the one time we were talking about scary stuff with Wendigoon, and all my Funko Pops just like fell off my shelf behind me. That was slightly terrifying. But Joe says we haven't even read his story yet, but he's just sending the comments in. He says, I'm going to fight all of you except for Chad. I know my limitations.
See, awfully defensive. This is defensiveness.
The defensiveness makes me think that it's not true.
He should have just left it with like Franklin, Ohio. We would have believed him. Now it's back in question.
Now he's trying to fight us all.
His Paragon level is just like moving all over the place right now.
Here we go. When I was younger, I had a friend named Ben who had several goats.
Ben Franklin, really?
Yeah, Ben lived in Franklin, and we're starting out the story with 1, you had a friend. 2, he had goats.
That was mean.
That was a low shot.
One weekend, I was staying at his house. Saturday night, there was growling and loud noises coming from his barn. His dad told us to stay inside and went down to check it out. One of the goats had been killed, and I guess there was quite a scene because we weren't allowed to go down there. We also weren't allowed to play outside the next day, and there were a lot of neighbors coming over to look at the wolf attack in the barn. Sunday night, there was more noise from the barn, and Ben's dad fired a warning shot in his way down. He said he saw it, but missed it. Monday morning, as the sun was coming up, Ben and I were walking to the bus stop at the end of his drive. Monday was also trash day. When we got towards the end of the drive, there was a stray dog digging through his trash. He yelled at it to shoo, and as soon as he yelled, this thing stood up on 2 legs and was staring at us. We took off running back to the house, and we never seen or heard anything strange around there after that. So,
Anubis. Calling Moon.
No, I'm just kidding.
The dog's like, why don't you leave me the F alone?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to eat.
Oh, why you gotta do that to Jack, bro? Yeah, so I'll let you guys be the judge, real or not, I don't know.
What was the distance of this?
I mean, it seems pretty plausible and real. It's not really
It does.
a ghost. It's just a wolf attack, and then a dog that stood up on its hind legs because it was starving to death and was bothered.
Jeff said, "I believe you, Joe." Well, there's
It
one
was
of those.
Jeff. It was him.
All right, that's story number 2. We have one more story. Again, you can join the Discord if you're watching this live. You can join the Discord before the end of the episode and type up your story, your encounter, your happening, your event, and we'll read it. But as of now, we got these 3. Dad the Cap says, Jeff, in chat here, he says, ask Jordan about that one time he, Stefan, and I were at my dad's old house in the basement with the creepy room with the chains and the candle, and then an emote like this.
I think Steph.
That
Jeff,
just sounds like the setting of like 50 Shades of Grey. Like I don't know what you
Jeff
guys
got
were
confused.
into, but
Jeff got confused between horror and horror.
this is not a Valentine's Day episode, Jeff. Okay.
Yeah, that never happened. If it did, it's erased from my memory, probably for multiple reasons.
Not Jeff. He remembers it. He wants to remember it.
Yeah. He's like, come on, the midnight scented candle. I'm like, oh my god, it's all coming back to me now. That's the scent. Once the scent comes back. I do remember, honestly, there was some weird happenings when Jeff lived in, I can't remember if he lived in Hartville at the time. It wasn't like at the house on the Swamp Road. It was, which sounds like a horror story in itself. But did you ever go to that house, Mike?
Yeah, off Swamp, yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember we did some of the
had,
Scarlet
like,
Thread stuff there.
Band practice out there a few times.
Yeah. But
By the way, shout out Jeff's dad, one of the coolest dudes I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's
Mr. Gilkerson. Fantastic person. Love that guy.
Gilkerson.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's not a teacher, it sounds like a teacher.
Yeah.
But,
For sure.
He's taught us a lot of things, like life lessons and stuff, but it sounds like a academics teacher.
Science.
He says it was swamp.
It was swamp. It was a swamp? Oh my god, actually that basement's coming back to me now a little bit. Yeah.
The smell of swamp, chains, candles, basement.
And I do remember something
Sexy time.
creepy happening at one time, but I can't.
Jeff, you didn't even tell Jordan to remember this before the show. Come on, Jeff.
No, but Jeff is right though. I do remember something crazy happening. We were in our younger teens, which isn't helping the exploratory nature of the story. But
We barely get Jordan to remember to come on the episode, let alone a story from.
no, but for real, I do remember. Honestly, Jeff, you should remind everyone what happened, because I can't. I do remember Stefan was freaked out, and I've been around a lot of
story.
Well, no, I've been around a lot of crazy shit, and I remember something weird happening, and I was just like, did it happen? Was that it was?
You
I was
shut
like,
down.
I was trying. No, it wasn't like. It was just like an adrenaline pump. Something super weird happened. And I remember the adrenaline, and I was just like, it really just happened. And we couldn't recreate it, or I don't think we went back down there. But you should tell that. But I am going to share a story that's not mine.
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay.
And
Before
I don't know.
you do, real quick though, Ugly Kid Joe Cross says, my wife is related to Seth Breedlove that makes the cryptid documentaries. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but
Cryptid documentaries.
I believe
Interesting.
that. That's too specific to be a lie. You can't just call Joe a liar.
that's true. That's rude of me.
His name's not Ugly Liar Joe Cross.
Breedlove, isn't that
I feel like he's very honest with
guitar now, I think, too.
Who?
Breedlove,
No.
I want to say. Or am I
Cat's
thinking-
about to jump on me. Okay, come on. He comes up like 90% of the
Breedlove,
way,
Yeah, typical cat, right?
and he's like, "No, I don't want to."
Yeah.
Breedlove is also a brand of acoustic guitars, by the way, guys.
Oh,
Jeff says, we took the candle into that room and it flickered and almost went out.
Yeah, there was a ridiculous
Draft.
temperature. There was
No, I'm
yeah,
just
there's
kidding.
definitely there was definitely a temperature change, and it's an older basement. So yeah, it could have been more of like an oxygen thing, honestly. Uh, like it really could have very easily been an oxygen thing. 'Cause,
You're low on oxygen. You don't
Yeah.
remember anything.
Yeah.
yeah, it was
And there were chains
a
somehow.
fuzzy
There were
watery
chains.
drink, fuzzy watery drink. No, but I do I do remember that because we were like. Yeah, we were like tiptoeing down the stairs because I mean it was like a creepy ass basement, right? Like it's like the house is like you ever been in like one of those basements where you're like, oh, this place was around during the Civil War, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those basements, and yeah, I'm definitely remembering a lot of that. I think we set and again I think it was an oxygen thing. So I think we set the candle on the ground and we were just lighting up like one of the corners of it. There was like a you walked into it was like a dead end at one end, and it was I think if I'm remembering it correctly, it's around it, and it was just like the flame was like, boom, and then back a little bit, one of those. So I do think it was like an oxygen thing, but creepy nonetheless.
Good night, Joe. And I say all those things in jest, sir. No.
Nah, he's rude. Rude Mike.
He says,
Yeah.
"All right, heading to bed. Have a great night, boys. Nice
Joe.
beard, Jordan. Good night, Joe."
My Obi-Wan Kenobi beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so did I ever tell you the story of that my cousins had in Hartville, Mike? I'm saying it to you like that because I know you know my cousins.
No, I don't believe so.
So Micah and his friends,
Okay.
they snuck out one night.
Okay.
Because you're the kid of a pastor, you're the perfect kid ever, right?
Yep.
So they snuck out and they were and they live in Hartville. Chad, you'll appreciate this. Guys, I didn't realize what you were doing.
No, you're
I'm
good.
sorry.
You're good. You do that to me every time. I've
Do I
adjusted
really?
to it. Yeah, I've
Do I
adjusted
really?
to it.
Chad,
I haven't even been here
it
like 6
often
months.
looks like he is snorting blow off his desk, but really he just has a crippling nasal spray addiction that he
Yes.
won't do on
Just
camera.
show it.
Correct.
Just show us.
Correct.
You don't have to hide it, man. Just
Chad's
it's
making
just
jokes
weird. It's
about
just
me
weird.
going into like a dark basement with candles and chains while he's
Like
giving
he's just
himself a
doing a lot.
blowjob.
Yeah.
He's like, "Wait, can you repeat that, Jordan?"
say that one more time, just as you said it.
Right. So they grew up in Hartville, Chad, and
Yep.
they were walking home one night. And this is in like he told us like this like in like the later 90s or like probably mid 90s, and this happened in the lower part of the 90s. But they were walking down there, and they're not like one for ghosts or anything like this. This isn't even really a ghost story. But as they were walking through Hartville, it was around the fall time, autumn time. So you had like, the corn was tall and everything. And it was similar to a harvest moon. Don't know if it was a harvest moon night, but the moon was super bright to where you were casting a shadow, right? Well, they were walking down the street going home, and this thing came up from one side of the road from the corn and just walked across the road in front of them. And its hands were like literally like dragging on the road. It was really tall, and its hands were dragging behind, like not like almost behind him, but
It's a man thing.
right. And then he walked across, or they, I don't know the gender.
Yeah, get
They
your
walked
pronouns right,
across
bro.
the road and into the other side of the corn. And then, as time goes by, and like the early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, they start finding these weird nests in Hartville where these potential things were living like close to like Bigfoot. And it's been a thing. There's a documentary out there now about it.
Oh,
And,
really? Interesting.
About the Hartville thing.
Yeah, that's not that. Yeah, that's like they're saying there's like a things like Bigfoot that live in Hartville or have lived there for a while, or at least migrated through there for a while, lived there and moved on to the next. And
Interesting.
it's they're not like they were around in the house that we grew up for some ghost stuff, but they weren't like trying to make up their own type of ghost story. Like this
Right.
is
Yeah.
like, did you ever meet Butch, Micah's best friend? He comes to High Mill or Compassion sometimes, but he's a childhood friend of theirs, and he was there, and it was him and I think their other friend Luke, who I haven't seen in ages, but Yeah, that story always like stuck with me because all the crazy stuff that I've seen, I've never seen like a
cryptid.
yeah,
That would be
yeah,
rad. That would be not
yeah,
rad. That would be terrifying.
right.
And I'm also glad that I did the dishes after dinner, because I don't know if anyone's heard me talk about my kitchen setup, but our sink has a window that looks out into our backyard, and we have a cornfield against the back of our property. So we don't have like blinds or a curtain on this window. So I'm just staring out this window into the pitch black with a cornfield. And now that's all that's going to be running through my mind when I go take my dog out tonight before I go to bed.
I'm not usually one to like share other people's stories that they share with me, but
Mhm.
poor Chad's like heard my stories like 5 times now, so I thought I'd throw something like different too.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. I definitely want to watch the documentary for sure, and I have a couple
Mhm.
friends that grew up in Hartville, so I'd be curious to ask them if they've
when that documentary came out, they were like, what? Because it became that much more real for them, right?
That's
It was
super
just
interesting.
some weird shit that they saw one night, and then all of a sudden,
This is probably nothing paranormal or like supernatural at all, but I have an interesting story of Hartville that was very odd.
When Nick put his that on, I remember when Chad did it. And he didn't.
Oh yeah,
mute
I did
himself.
yeah.
I have some more taste than Chad does.
Yeah.
I was with Becca at the time. We were dating, and we were on our way back to her house, probably after going to a movie or something. That's something we did all the time. And we were driving down 43 towards Hartville, and it was like just about right before you get to Middle Branch, where if you're going from Canton to Hartville on 43, you can turn right on the Middle Branch, and it takes you down the windy road by the Schumacher lumber or whatever lumber yard that used to be. But probably like a football field's distance away from getting up to Middle Branch, there was just a singular line of fire across the road.
Oh yeah. I have a odd fire story from the fire department too. But yeah,
Like,
that's probably like
I mean,
I
it was
saw that a couple times.
Line of fire,
like a straight line across both lanes of the road.
Yeah,
just across the entire road.
It's just kids screwing around.
Yeah,
probably
nothing.
Gasoline.
Nothing
we're going
like
through
crazy. Oh yeah, we just drove right through it. Probably not the safest thing to do. But coming home from a movie at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night and just seeing a line of fire across the road, I'm just like, this is super weird, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's probably just someone goofing around, or maybe like some freak
almost
happening
certainly.
or whatever. But it didn't make it any less creepier as I drove past it.
Right, yeah.
Hartville's an interesting place. That does it for our Answer the Boys. Unless we get any new submissions by the end of the episode, of course we'll read those out. And if you like scary story time at Showboys, sign up for our Patreon, because we're going to do it for our Patreon episode this month. Let's get on to the dark universe here. So like I said at the top of the episode, I actually did some research finally for an episode of the podcast. And sorry, I had to get that burp out. Universal Studios, back in, I think, 2017, attempted to start their own cinematic universe revolving around their monster movie IPs. So we're talking like The Mummy, Frankenstein, Dracula, all those sorts of IPs from back in the day. The first movie of this attempted cinematic universe was going to be The Mummy back in 2017 with Tom Cruise. I think even like Russell Crowe had a cameo in there as like Dr. Jekyll or something. I mean, star-studded cast, like huge budget.
Big
and it just completely flopped at the box office. and was simultaneously the beginning and the end of this film franchise. So I thought, we were talking about Werewolf by Night. You got Wolfman in the Universal, movies. So I was like, oh, we should talk about this failed cinematic universe. We can.
But it's
I
more
have
than
a
just
list.
that movie.
Well, there's a second movie that was released within this universe, The Invisible Man in 2020, and this one actually was like, received well by critics and fan or audience alike. It actually performed really well in the box office.
I think it's got Elizabeth Moss in it, really.
Yeah.
So wasn't that considered like a reboot though?
It
It
is.
is,
Yeah.
a reboot of The Invisible Man. But like that's kind of like what
And
all
it's
of these
Dracula
movies
Untold.
were.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
kind of
Yeah.
like rebooting these
Yeah.
monster IPs, but like tying it together MCU style somehow. But I thought it'd be fun to go through. I have a list of all the movies that were slated to be a part of this. We can talk about those. We can talk about why it failed, maybe what it could have been, how they could have worked it out to succeed. So I'll just ask you guys, were any of you actually aware that this was a thing that was attempted? I know Chad told me earlier, he's like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Yeah, I knew it existed. I tried watching The Mummy once, and I couldn't get through it. But I'm actually a big Dracula Untold fan. I know it's not technically part of it.
I like that movie.
Yeah, I think that they're probably realizing that it should be, and it still could be, right?
Yeah,
you could still make it happen.
Well, as of now, the Dark Universe is dead. It's kaput. They immediately like halted and shelved movies that were in development at the time.
Really, all of them?
Pretty much.
Interesting.
So
Invisible Man again breathed some new life into it.
It did, and that came out in 2020, and in early 2021, there were some speculation floating around that maybe they might like try to reboot the Dark Universe
with the Werewolf. Ryan Gosling, I think, was slated to be.
Yeah, so let's go through here.
Yeah,
so
shut up.
Nick found an image here of the Phase 1 Dark Universe having Dracula retold, Frankenstein, Van Helsing, The Invisible Man, The Mummy, which is The Invisible Man and Mummy are the two movies that actually did come out. They also had Wolfman, The Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Dark Legion. I found a page that listed a few more movies and a few different things. They also had Bride of Frankenstein, which is currently shelved. And originally they had this one had Angelina Jolie, and then later on down the road, Gal Gadot attached to this as Bride of Frankenstein. They also had Dark Army, Renfield, The Invisible Woman, Monster Mash, Frankenstein, Little Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Van Helsing, which Channing Tatum was attached to, The Wolfman, which first had Dwayne Johnson attached to it as the lead role, but more recently, apparently they're gonna reboot the Wolfman movie that never happened. That would have been a reboot of the Wolfman movie that did happen way back in the day. But like Jordan said, Ryan Gosling is now tied to the lead role in the Wolfman. They also had Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Invisible Man 2, and The Scorpion King. Because why not? You have the Mummy, so why not have the Scorpion King? Of course, none of these are in active
The Monster
development.
Mash should be like their end game.
Little Monsters is the prequel.
Yeah.
Once all the little monsters are assembled into one glove.
Did you guys ever see that movie with like Howie Mandel, Little Monsters?
I see Ben Savage. Not Ben Savage.
Yeah.
Is it Ben Savage?
I think so.
Fred Savage.
One of the Savages.
Ben.
I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Is it Ben?
I don't know if it's the same movie
It's
that they would be
Fred. It's a Wonder
rebooting
Years
here.
kid.
Yeah, one of them. I don't know.
It's got to be Fred. God bless me. I gotta look it up. My cat just started biting me as soon as I moved my arm.
Nice. But like I said, The Mummy and The Invisible Man did release. The budget for The Mummy was $125 million, and it brought in a whopping $407 million worldwide. 80 million from North America, 327 million from outside of North America. The Invisible Man had a budget of $7 million and brought in a total of $144 million worldwide. 70 million from North America, 74 from outside of North America. So
I agree with Chad.
what?
Do you see his face?
Yeah, I
It
just
says so much.
Yeah, was the Mummy considered a flop? Because
It made money.
It made a ridiculous amount of money. Triple
Flop,
the budget.
In
It wasn't
terms
Mission
of-
Impossible money, but it was money
Right,
nonetheless.
Yeah.
In terms of reception, was terrible, reviewed terribly.
Screw them.
And
Make another movie.
it's more so a flop in North America. Like,
Yeah, it only made
80 million in North America, which I thought was very interesting. 327 million outside of North America and 80 million within, whereas Invisible Man's pretty much split right down the middle for the most part.
Have you guys seen this movie, The Mummy?
I've seen the movie. I have seen The Mummy.
I've tried to watch it. I was actually super scared that we were going to go like in depth, heavy on the movie. That's why I was like, I hope you enjoy the commentary now because it's not going to be there later. Because I'm like, I've never seen a damn movie.
What did you think of the movie, Chad?
I mean, I thought it was good. I don't have any tie to the original Mummy movies, so I don't know if it's maybe people that like those original ones didn't like this. I thought for what it was okay. I've never been the biggest Tom Cruise fan, so he's like meh for me in most of the stuff that he's in.
He's just Mission Impossible.
Yeah, he's Mission Impossible, and that's like what I want out of him. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like they tried to give it a Mission Impossible spin to it. You know what I mean? Like it did feel kind of globe trotting and all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that exact comment. Like it even felt like Mission Impossible, just with mummies and sandstorms.
Right. Yeah.
I think Mission Impossible even has like a sandstorm.
Sandstorms. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't
jumps on a motorcycle and chases him down.
Yeah.
So you're saying because it was a flop in North America, they just like tuck tail and turn coat, like
which apparently
so
because they pretty much shut down everything else.
Yeah, but it made like a really decent amount of money outside of America. So isn't that a win? Like, mean, America didn't like it, but everybody else did.
No, America is the most important.
Is it though? Money's money. Like it's.
I would. I mean, trust me. I don't believe that this is the reason at all. But in my mind, I would relate it as America is one of the countries that's left of like trying to take, mythology, mold it, and make it, and support it in the best way we can. It's been taken away a lot. I mean, like you look at third world countries in Latin America, they're bigger Superman fans than you would find in America, right?
Right.
By a large majority. But Universal Monsters, as far as like pop culture goes, I think a lot of it sells more here than it does elsewhere in the world. Especially, you could look at Funko, for instance. They leverage the IP for not only Funko Pops, but board games based around Universal Monsters. They're in Funkoverse. There's a game called Horrified that does it, which, by the way, there's also a version of that called American Monsters where it has like Bigfoot and Chupacabra in it. It's a pretty fun game.
Nice.
I don't think that they're that smart to look into it from that aspect, but I mean, it's probably a good idea. As somebody who likes the Ben Fraser, the Brendan Fraser mummies.
Mummy, yeah.
Ben Franklin thinks still messing with me, but I never once saw it as a like a universal like horror. I just saw him as a mummy, not like the living mummy.
Right,
right. He was everything but a mummy.
Yeah,
he was just like a half naked Egyptian magician, right? And for a little while, he was the undead creature, obviously, which is really, really cool scenes. But I never thought of him like that.
The failing of the universe wasn't solely on just the box office stuff. Basically, they had assembled what they called back then like a dream team writers room, including let me pull up the article to get the names right, because there are a couple that have gone on to make some good stuff today. But from this article, again, I'll link all the articles I used to find all this information. But I pulled a quote from this article from Eric Heiserer, who was going to be the co-writer of the Dark Universe reboot of Van Helsing. He has gone on to do Shadow and Bone on Netflix in more recent years, like currently he's doing Shadow and Bone on Netflix. He says to try to assume, this is what he says about how the Dark Universe was doomed from the start. He says to try to assume you're building something that is already pre-packaged as a cinematic universe. There's kind of a hubris that I think audiences pick up on right away. They know you're selling them a trailer to a bigger movie and assuming they're going to show up. I don't think that's the right approach, which I thought was interesting because
That's deep.
this is in the height of the MCU,
Yeah.
which literally everybody knows that they're doing exactly what he said and still flock to these movies in droves.
yeah, but I don't know. I think people are a little annoyed with other people trying to do what the MCU is doing
Yeah.
with I mean, if I'm being like, I have no ties to any of these. Like Frankenstein could care less about. I've never seen a good Dracula movie. I might like I love the Castlevania anime. That's the best Dracula thing I've ever seen. But most
Vampire
of these
Hunter
monsters. Who?
You ever watch Vampire Hunter D?
No,
Check it out.
I
It's
will. I will.
Check it out.
Van Helsing, I do like Van Helsing, but outside of that, like, you could really give two shits about any of these. Like these are old monsters. Like, I don't want to see a
Dracula.
Frankenstein movie. Like,
Yeah, but how many characters from the MCU would you also say that about before movies came out?
yeah,
Like-
quite a few. Yeah, quite a few.
So I would say that his statement there is just fundamentally flawed. I think they probably approached it incorrectly, but I mean, like,
Yeah, but no one else can pull it off. That's the
Yeah,
thing. He's
yeah.
right in that sense.
He is. Yeah,
Like it's
absolutely.
kind of like you said, it's kind of ridiculous that they would try it twice. Like
yeah, but is
Now-
it the audience, or the reason people can't pull it off is because of the execution?
Well, what are your
Definitely the
expectations
execution.
too, right? If you're like, oh, this
Yeah.
is a cookie cutter system, we can recreate it, and we'll make easily $250 million off this just by talking about it alone and releasing the first movie. It makes like what, $88 million in profit. They're like, nah, not good enough. Let's not worry about it.
Right.
Having Johnny Depp, Russell Crowe, all these different people ready to go. We're just not really gonna have the budget for it if this one didn't perform that way. The MCU, they took a lot of actors that weren't as known or as big and turned them into superstars, right? You took some ex-superstar actors who were down on the dumps, like Robert Downey Jr., and revitalized his whole career out of it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different approach, and they probably were like, it was a success, but it's not worth pursuing this.
Yeah.
And then they were probably like, which, by the way, I got a job offer from the MCU and I'm going over there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what fails with extended universes, cinematic universes, and during this whole conversation, I can't help but think of MMOs and World of Warcraft, right? Because I mean, it directly translates. I think people crave the connectivity between these properties, right? The storytelling they're able to do, interconnecting all these characters in their own individual stories, but also in a much larger overarching story. But I think we got a great example of how to do it with the MCU. And then like that was really all we had for like 10 years. So that's what people like got used to seeing. Like World of Warcraft was really not the first, right? There are plenty of MMOs before World of Warcraft, but they like nailed the formula because they became the most played, the most popular, the highest selling, et cetera. Enter your superlative there. But like they figured out the formula and people played that for like a decade and got used to that formula. So when new MMOs come out or new cinematic universes try to establish themselves, DCEU, people go into it, expect the MCU or expect World of Warcraft, don't get it, and throw a fit about it. So there's a little bit on the audience, a little bit on the audience shoulders, and a little bit on the creators, the studios, the developers, a little bit on their shoulders too. In the case of the DCEU, you've heard me rant about this millions of times, but if Warner Bros. Would have just had like a spine and let Snyder execute his vision instead of immediately caving to, critiques of movies that weren't even out yet or, just released, like let the man tell his story, who knows what the DCEU would have turned out to be. I love the tone and the way that they were establishing that. It was different. It wasn't Marvel. If I wanted Marvel, I would go watch more Marvel movies. But I don't know if what he says in this quote really like holds up and explains what happens, because blaming, well, I mean, I guess it is kind of the audience responsibility is not what he's saying here. He's saying like it's like the hubris of selling people prepackaged content that leads to more content, like selling people trailers for future stuff. Like we all love that, or else the MCU wouldn't continue to be as big as it is. It's just that execution and what people expect. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It's like twofold. So it's the same, very similar thing with like Star Wars or any culturally shifting moment with something. So like no one can recreate the the first three movies of the Star Wars rollout. Like that was like the first movie, like second movie, cultural impacts, right? So same thing with having World of Warcraft. You can only have that run once. Yeah, it's really distracting.
He's good at that.
you can only do that once, like what World of Warcraft did, because it's organic the way the viewers intake that experience, right? Because when World of Warcraft came out, no one knew it was going to last 25 years.
Yeah,
be some of the best moments of their lives. And the same thing goes for the MCU. Like, yeah, Iron Man came out, but when I watched Iron Man, I didn't know what was coming. I didn't really know what was happening until probably like the seventh movie, maybe. So the way it perforates society is so organic, you can't recreate it. And that's what people are looking for. So if the DCEU did it before Marvel in alternate timeline, like Earth 37, it would probably be in reverse, because the DCEU wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it didn't get to be first. Like I think it's really up to that.
Yeah,
because we'd be used to be like, oh, what is a good cinematic universe? A dark, grimy superhero universe, and then someone
that
tries to come out
with the team up and then splits out to the solo stuff.
Right, but in that timeline, if you started with that and then another franchise was like, we're going to make a bubbly one that's fun and like bright, everybody like, this is trash. And I think it's just the effect of being the first
10 years of movies before they ever team up.
Yes, exactly. It's like, where are they going with this? This sucks. Where's the team up movie?
Yeah.
Justice League was first one. See? Boom.
At the end of the first Iron Man, when Nick Fury tells him, about the problem he has out with, Thor and the gamma radiation incident, and I forget what the third one he cited, probably something with Captain America.
Yeah.
I almost stood up and was like, holy fucking shit. Like,
yeah, it's happening.
Because so like for me, it wasn't like It wasn't even like that could have been it. That could have not even been the MCU didn't even have to come after that, but just to know that I saw that amazing of a Tony Stark created in live action with the armor and the struggles he had, like, because Robert Downey Jr. shares a lot of the same struggles that Tony Stark actually has with alcoholism. There's a lot of parallels that run with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's poetic, whether they meant for it to happen or not, I don't know. But just to know that the Hulk, Thor, and the Captain America exist, like just after that movie, it's all I needed. Everything else was a bonus at that point.
Yeah.
And the original. I don't know if you guys ever watched the original cut of that, but he actually references mutants in that too.
Oh.
I think he references Spider-Man, mutants, and then something like Thor or Hulk or something like that. Yeah.
They didn't want everyone's heads to explode in the theaters. So they're like, yeah, let's cut that out.
Yeah. I would have been like carried out of there on a stretcher. But I remember like just losing my like I was like, what, 2007? But I was still like obviously younger, but like I never, that was like cinematic like history for me, like right there of like just something that was I could never.
That was like our Star Wars trilogy moment, right?
Yeah, probably
in cinema.
Probably seeing this like just happen, I was blown away. That and honestly Ben Affleck's Batman. I know sounds crazy.
The Batfleck. I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but like might be my favorite Batman.
Yeah, seeing the horror scene of him like in the corner and the cops just like and shoots at him and he's like a freaking rat across the ceiling going across. It's like aliens almost, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
The girls who wanted like the cops try to save him, and the girls don't even want to save. They close the jail cell because Batman's still there. Like he's there to save them, but they're just like, I'm not going out there. Like it's just that's it.
Jordan, did you like the Batman?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
I like that a lot.
I mean, you feel like that's in a better spot than Batman was. Ben
Affleck was the first time to like create that like scary Batman. Now,
yeah.
I give it to Christopher Nolan too. The scene where all the guys are running around and he's just picking them off one by one. That's a really cool scene. But like the reveal of like Ben Affleck in the corner like that, like he's massive and he's still in the warehouse fight scene.
That's the best part is he's like a huge Batman.
Yeah.
Like
a boulder up on the roof.
Yeah, like where the hell are my keys? And they're like hanging from your pinky, right?
Yeah.
Like it's right there dingling in your face. Like, how the hell did you miss that? But it's just like the Batman was absolutely phenomenal. It's just the Ben Affleck's Batman was like the first Batman to see with like the crazy lightning and the warehouse scene, and that was just for me. That was just
the warehouse scene.
Yeah, warehouse by midnight.
Yeah.
It was just that was the cinematic history for me. But we'll move on from this pretty quick, obviously, because this isn't the topic. But the first like 15 minutes of the Batman is probably like my favorite, like just cinematic history opening of a movie. Like it's just the Riddler scene into the narration over Gotham at Halloween.
And all the criminals like being scared of the bat
signal. I think I'm hiding in the shadows. He's like, but I am the shadow. Like it's talking about fear as a tool. Like he's talking about like his impact, how it's evolved into a mythology, and he believes it. So like it's like he's nuts, right? He's a crazy person. He believes he's the shadow, and it's just phenomenal. Anywho,
Batman.
Chad, do you have thoughts?
It goes along with Dracula, so whatever.
No,
he is the Batman.
Thoughts out.
So I guess like this extends out into like a larger picture question, like
Quitters.
Does everything have to be a cinematic universe?
Yes, but done different.
Like
the Batman's a perfect example. I hate to go back to it, but it's a perfect example. You can have lots of the things happening. I always use the example. I could have like the Batman, the Long Halloween right here. I'm reading, and then I'm reading the current Batman in the Justice League line, and then even Batman solo series. Like they're not always connected. They don't always have to be connected, but it's just a mythological character in that point in time. You look at Zeus in Greek mythology. Sometimes he's got the long beard and the long hair. Sometimes he has short hair and a short beard. Sometimes he's clean shaven with like black hair. Like there's tons of different versions of
They
him.
just catch him in different periods of his grooming cycle. Yeah, he's the Jordan of Greek mythology.
Yeah. There's like, I don't know. It doesn't all have to run together, and they've been in different places, different times. And I want to know more about them. Like to only have one consecutive version of the character. I said this before, but it robs you of the entire mythology of anything else in that character, right? You can read Wolverine. There's sometimes some of his best stories when he doesn't have adamantium. He's got bone claws. He's more feral. He's relying more on his healing powers than his claws. It's just you have X-Men in the future, the Days of Future Past. Like it's just like it's a different group of X-Men. Most of them are dead. But is it connected? Yeah, but you don't know when it happened or how it happened exactly. You just know that. And then Bishop shows up, and then Cable shows up at two different parallel timelines, and they're trying to fight for their timelines. Like it's
I mean, essentially, it's the linearness of it. You're stuck in one linear timeline, more or less, with how the characters progress, and then also. It's just that structure, which is ironically shifting with the MCU. They're kind of doing it, for the one way people could have switched it up and made an old trope better. That's the direction that the MCU is going, where you have it's not really implicit yet, but it seems like they might be going this direction where you have different things going on. You don't necessarily directly put them in each other, like Moon Knight. Like Moon Knight isn't part of the great like main A tier. They are developing this like B tier, which may never actually connect to the rest of the MCU, and that's what other people can do just fine. Like right now, that's just kind of how I treat the Batman universe. There's many different Batmans. A lot of different versions. Do they maybe somehow relate? Cool, little touches, little sprinklings of information, but. No need to be like, all right, we're prepping him to go into this person's movie, and then they're going to do this thing together, and it just all goes forward. And you're like, well, can we have something different?
Well, the MCU's cop out, which they did this on Netflix. They're like, well, how are we going to connect this? Like, just tell him about the blip, bro. Just tell him about the blip. Or tell him about New York. New York was ruined.
Oh man, New York, crazy, right?
And that's been I don't like that about. I mean, it's cool at first, but the fact that everything in the MCU is post blip is kind of like a boring world. It's getting kind of old because like if everything's post blip, like why can't you do, a different Captain America in a different timeline? Like there's just more they could do. And I think they're moving that direction, luckily, because they're kind of always on the precipice of how to run a superhero universe. The sad thing is the DCEU could have committed to that and done it first, but they missed again. This could have done it.
But we got Atlantis.
Right.
We got Atlantis.
And they could have done it with this dark universe, but they were just like, one movie, we quit. Let's get out of here. Hurry.
Yeah, right.
Tell Johnny Depp's fired.
I do hope that they do, like the Gotham cinematic universe. Like the Batman is just the GCU, right? You can dabble even in Metropolis, but that'd be the MCU again. It's like you just got to stay away from it. But I do hope the GCU is just like a thing, and you can bring characters in. I do hope superpowers show up. And
So how would you tie this into the Dark Universe? If we were to repitch the Dark Universe to Universal, lay out a plan for them to have a cinematic universe, like what would our pitch be?
It's easy.
Well,
you keep the mummies that exist in the timeline. Don't redo the mummy. It's already been done fine once. So let's do something new and just like refer to the mummy franchise from 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And then you can just have little, if you want to do the same like person and acting and all that, like make 4 movies just about that story in that character.
You know, my technique would be similar to what they're actually kind of doing. I have, even though I respect the horror, you know, with the classic Universal monsters or the classic, you know, Romanian, Transylvanian monsters, a huge part of Halloween. I love it. Celtic, whatever. Love it all. But
Other.
it's like, you know, you have like, when you think of a Dracula, you think like look at this nerd, right?
Yeah.
Or you see Frankenstein, you're like, yeah, I could probably outrun him.
Yeah.
You see the Wolf Man, and you're like, it looks like
Kick him in the nards. No,
it looks like a really tall Ewok, you know. Just the swamp monster looks like just really bad sun skin. Just
Gray
super
scale.
dry and
Grayscale.
like you have to. It can be done, but where's the most logical place to do it? And this is something I learned from the MCU. You take characters who kind of suck and you make them interesting. And they did this with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mhm.
So the Universal monster version of that is,
all in space.
well, yeah. There's two characters, the Universal monsters that it goes with: Creature from the Black Lagoon
Mhm.
and the Invisible Man. Those are the two kind of like
Checked one of those boxes already.
right. So they started there, and they made a really good movie. And you guys haven't seen it? No one here's seen it?
Have not.
No, I want to watch it though.
Well, so
Seen
then this.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
Seen what?
Oh my gosh.
I looked away for like the moment he said the.
It's so good. So that's going to be the you guys challenged each other last year to watch a movie. I'm gonna challenge everybody, watch The Invisible Man and just give like
Oh,
your,
I seen that.
Nick's got up finally.
you too. Ben, I can't do it.
So yeah,
That one's hard.
Mike
You're
has
doing
a hard time
two
with it, too.
directions, two
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
broken.
you two people. It's yeah. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I want to know what you guys think. Next, just
Well,
good.
hey, maybe
3
that'll
minute,
be our
4 minute
movie
thing.
for next week to review.
It's really good, and honestly, it goes really well with Black Adam. The actor who plays Hawkman is in it. So
Oh, interesting. So I like where you're going with this. It's a good start. I wanted to say The Invisible Man is a Blumhouse production.
right.
So my pitch would be you take these characters. I don't know. I haven't seen The Mummy, but I would at this point just like chop that one off. Start with The Invisible Man. And
There's a lot of mummies in history. There's a lot of
Yeah.
mummies.
Yeah, true.
but Blumhouse is already like rebooting all of these classic Universal monster movies anyways, post Dark Universe. So I would say continue on with that. Have Blumhouse do modern takes on these monsters, much like The Invisible Man is, right? That happens in like current times.
Mm-hmm.
Have them as this is going to be counterintuitive to everything that I just talked about cinematic universes, but take the Marvel approach. Start with these individual movies, right?
Mhm.
The Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula. I think it'd be cool to have like a modern take on Dracula. That'd
Yeah, I
be sweet.
agree.
Introduce the characters and somehow tie in a modern day Van Helsing as your like Avenger type squad, even though Van Helsing is one person, but like he's the character that will hunt these monsters. I don't know anything about like these monster lore. I know Van
He could be
Helsing
the
was
villain too, right? He
was
could be
Van,
rooting
Van
for the
Helsing
monster.
was a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of an everything hunter, but yeah.
Well, there you go. Have him
Just a
hunt
hunter.
these everythings in modern times, and keep in style with the 2020 Invisible Man. I mean, that sounds pretty simple. You just have to have what a lot of studios are lacking, and that is a backbone to see your plan through. But if you take the approach to the Invisible Man, it's $7 million movie, and you made 144 million on it. I mean,
It's a win.
that's a pretty good return on investment there.
Right.
But anyways, that would be my pitch.
I do wonder, because you say make it like modernize it, bring it to modern times.
Mhm.
What's wrong with like superhero period pieces or like all these
Nothing.
different character period like I like the one Captain America that was in his time, like
Yeah.
or
Right.
all the flashback scenes, whatever I'm remembering, and like Wonder Woman, like when they're in World War II, that's fucking awesome. So I don't know why. That's kind of like a weird trope, actually, if you think about it, like the modernization. Like, let's take this character and let's put him in modern times and see what happens. It's kind of like let's take a superhero and make her just have court cases every day. So it's just like, why can't we just not say
Men
like
are stupid, bro.
the only way
That's why the
something
mummy
can be-
failed. Women suck.
Yeah.
it's just like things are only relevant if we can tie them to like today, where you know there's cell phones everywhere and there's all
Yeah.
the hardships of modern technology, and like why can't we
Dracula.
yeah
No,
Yeah.
that's perfect. That's
Yeah,
literally
bro.
perfect.
perfectly he did that on purpose. I thought
Dude,
didn't.
no,
Oh,
my
so
only
good.
my only pushback on that is the movies were already
How did that
that.
even happen?
I don't know. You're just very talented.
For the first time, like totally, I get it, but I have no idea how that. Whatever.
It was the Hartville Beast.
It's just a giant. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, my only argument would be like, I mean, Dracula is told in a historical sense. Like,
Yeah,
Dracula
but-
Untold.
it's untold, man. No.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of important to some of these monsters, though.
yeah, it would
Especially
be it would just be
Dracula and Frankenstein. Like that would be
an
lame as hell.
interesting new take. That's all.
Yeah. I don't
But
know.
also, they are monsters, and who's to say that they are not immortal or have a super long longevity? Like Van Helsing could be like 300 years old or something.
Yeah.
And so you
They
could
need
have
to-
some
They need to do the
dated back and
Frankenstein more close to like the Promethean idea, right? So like instead of like the lumbering green monster, he's literally like the first of his kind created to do something, right? And he was created by somebody but became self-aware and did his own thing. You can. It's really the idea of Frankenstein. He has a creator and he has a master, and then he becomes sentient and does his own thing. You could do that with a bunch of dead people's parts to create a new living creature, or you could do that literally with a robot, right? Like there's the $1 Million Man's technically a Frankenstein in a lot of ways. There's tons of ways you could do it. I'm a fan of the classic Frankenstein, especially what the comics do, like the DC's Frankenstein. He's literally Frankenstein, but he's got the sword of Michael. So
he's got a
like
wicked sword.
right, yeah, and he has like a Victorian like flintlock pistol, right? Like that stuff's really cool. And then what the Howling Commandos do in Marvel, he's got like a Gatling gun. He's like Blaine from Predator, right? Like he's like just a war torn soldier who just like loves guns. Like there's a lot of cool things you can do, and it doesn't have to be the slow lumbering. I saw Young Frankenstein this year for the first time. For the first time.
Yeah, I think the lumbering stuff
It's
in most things is kind of lame now, especially zombies. Like they're just modernize those fuckers and make them run because they're way more scary when they're running. Let's be honest.
I like them. I do like the Walking Dead speed, honestly, because there's a lot of them.
But it works in that show.
It does, yeah.
If they're going to be slow, they have to have the numbers behind them.
If you ever want to play a fun game, it's free on Steam. It's called No More Room in Hell. And it's like you can do like 12, 18, 20 players, and you have like very little guns. If you find like a gun, it has like a magazine that has like 4 or 5, maybe 6 rounds in it. But there's hundreds. You could open a door and there's 100 zombies in the room, and they're all slow moving. And you got to like cut them through with an axe as they come out, and like crowbars and stupid stuff, right? But you got to work together as a group like that and complete these missions. So honestly, I'd even play it with you. Everyone play. It's a good time. So. Slow lumbering zombies that way. But I like the classic Frankenstein. That's like one of my favorite Universal horror characters. I'm not saying it's like practical or anything like that, but the Promethean idea behind it, I've always loved it. I thought that was a really cool spin on it, and hopefully they find a way to keep the classic. I like the whole like just tons of. I don't know how they kept finding body parts that have like the same arm length and everything, but And then there's a tailor to make it match. I guess that's probably why he had like shorter sleeves and they were torn and everything. But I hope they can find something to keep that. But also
you can find matching body parts, but you can't find a tailor. That's just
right. Yeah. I guess this is the easy part. What's going on? But seriously, have you guys seen Young Frankenstein?
No.
Nope.
Holy crap. Okay, Mike?
No.
Damn it. Okay.
Guess we gotta watch that.
It's a Mel Brooks movie. It's all black and white. So if you like Spaceballs, it's like a funny version of Frankenstein instead of Star Wars. So
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Wilder in it.
Gene Wilder's in it.
Does that have Renfield as a character in there?
Or
is that another goofy
he's not in it. He might be comedy. In it. There's a cop, but he's got like a mechanical hand. But Igor is named Igor. It's a funny effing movie. It's worth watching. It's worth watching. Actually, it's more along the humor of like History of the World. If you guys ever saw History of the World, it's more along the humor of that. But Gene Wilder he's basically the great grandson of Dr. Frankenstein, and he hates being related to it. So like he's like a teacher in school, and they're like, "Aren't you a Frankenstein?" He's like, "It's Frankenstein." Like he's like trying to like get around it and clear his name. But he gets.
I think I've definitely seen at least parts of this movie.
Yeah,
I'm looking at pictures right now.
That's how it was for me. I saw a couple parts, and then I sat down with Kelly and I watched it, and I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, that's great.
Do Invisible Man though. I watched Invisible Man, but Young Frankenstein's not even family friendly itself because we all know Mel Brooks.
Right. The way you said that made it sound like The Invisible Man is family friendly.
I know. It's not.
Watch The Invisible Man. Young Frankenstein's not even family friendly.
What I'm trying to say is neither of them are family friendly. So
nice.
Yeah.
Turns out that Del Toro was originally attached to the Creature of the Black Lagoon for the Dark Universe.
That would have been cool.
Ended up dipping out for whatever reason, either was removed or left when it like kind of fell to shambles, right? And then ended up doing The Shape of Water, which was kind of like was going to be his take on the Creature of the Black Lagoon. Interesting. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know. I do know that we reported in the newscast like probably a year ago that Blumhouse was rebooting several unnamed Universal monster movies. I was trying to Google real quick while you guys were talking, but I couldn't like quickly find that if these movies have been named yet or not. But who knows if they'll be, these will, bring new life to the Dark Universe, or if they're just individual horror movies, reboots on old characters, old IPs. Not necessarily connecting them within a cinematic universe or not, but Blumhouse has a pretty good track record in the horror genre. They're kind of like a big name out there. So if any of them turn out like The Invisible Man, I'm sure that we'll be getting some pretty awesome horror movies. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you guys think that the Dark Universe should just stay dead, or would you like to see an attempt at resuscitating it?
Chad's like, yeah.
I just don't like. I don't feel like everything has to be a freaking cinematic universe. Like, make the movies and just make the movies. Like, if you want to do a Van Helsing, I like your idea for Van Helsing. You make the monster movies and then maybe have Helsing hunt them later in a movie.
Like Freddy vs. Jason, you just bring him in for like the smash up movie, and then you move on to the next one.
Yeah, like I don't feel like you need to build especially around these guys. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I have no.
They don't seem
tie
very
to
sociable for a team up movie. Like they don't seem like the most social of characters either.
Well, I don't think you can think like the MCU in terms of like there's going to be a team of sorts, and like the Wolfman and Mummy will be in a Frankenstein movie. I think the thing that would tie them together would be like a Van Helsing hunting them
Yeah.
across the movies.
It
you know,
crossovers more than like you
Yeah.
know, big
and like
blockbuster.
references to other movies, not necessarily like Elizabeth
what?
Moss hanging out with, so and so from.
It's funny. There's actually a movie that's already done everything we're talking about. It's called Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's true.
Which is family friendly.
It is
Yes.
family friendly, borderline, right?
Yeah.
Times, but honestly,
True.
those movies are great.
Oh, they are.
They keep getting like as soon as I heard they're going on a cruise, I'm like, this is gonna be the dumbest effing movie I've ever heard in my life.
And
And
it's
then
not.
there's a fish singing a hilarious ass song, and I'm laughing my ass off. Like,
Yeah.
those movies are genius. I'm also I do it every year, but Hubie Halloween's a ridiculously good Halloween movie. If you don't have a chance to watch it, you should watch it.
Never heard of it.
Adam Sandler on Netflix, phenomenal.
Oh, right. Still don't know what you're talking about, but
You should watch it.
Right. I still don't know what you're talking about.
You're lost.
Sure.
yeah. So
Nice
I
name.
guess that about does it for the conversation. Unless anyone has anything else they'd like to add before we wrap up here. The resounding silence leads me to believe that you have nothing further to say.
You did get a.
I said my add-ons before.
Yeah.
Nick, you made a noise.
I did.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
It's
Yep, that was it.
because he also noticed the irony.
Yeah.
He shot down everything I added on, and he's like, "You have anything to add?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I ruined it already. Okay, got it.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. What do we have coming down there? Jordan, are you involved in anything these days you want to like throw out there? I don't know if you
Nothing.
are, but if you are, please.
Napping.
Yeah, I'm
Beard growing.
I'm not really doing a lot. I just doing some consulting stuff for people in the UK, and I spent most of October pretty much trying to kind of unemployed right now. Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, but I'm just trying to find what I want to do next. Oh, you know what? There's something.
That's called a sabbatical or just like time off. Yeah.
You're just taking some.
Yeah, so
time.
I told you guys in the past that with the the IT consulting company was going to be coming to an end. It's pretty much reached the end, and just kind of toying around with a couple ideas of where I could go, what I could do. Kelly's pregnant though.
Hey!
Well then.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so
It's a
Yeah,
good time
there's
to take
gonna
some
be
time
a
off.
Little Jordan running around here. Holy
Right.
crap!
I know, right behind you. Turn the light on.
Yeah.
So I've been doing stuff. I've been kind of getting the our family company in order a little bit, and painting the house, getting stuff ready for the kid.
Nice.
So
That's
it's a
awesome.
good month to have off. And we have a freaking beautiful October going on here.
Yeah,
So it's like
sure.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
so
What
just
like
living it up.
how far along? Like,
the baby will be in April.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Come around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
April
Don't-
10th.
Maybe
Insane.
you should in some of your newfound free time, you should probably investigate that issue right here in the upper corner of your screen. It looks like you might have like a little spider problem.
Spider problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually if you hop back to where the camera keeps going crazy, you get a good shot of it. It's like a spider web chandelier. We don't
that
clean ever. I don't dust.
sounds like my worst nightmare.
And
But yeah,
then,
well, congratulations, man. That's awesome to hear.
thanks. Yeah. So lots of random stuff. Nothing crazy, innovative. Just trying to simplify and enjoy.
Nice.
That's the
Well,
best way to do it.
yeah, man. Keep at it. We're happy for you. We have 2 more episodes of the House of the Dragon companion series left.
Yep.
Darn tootin'.
I finally caught up 2 nights ago. Lord of the Tides. Pretty
Nice.
wicked.
Good episode.
Make sure you guys tune in Monday nights at 9 for the next 2 weeks here. Chad and Nick will be breaking down the last 2 episodes. While they're recording or streaming that, I am recording a companion series on the show called The Chosen with my friend James of thenerdybible.com. Those episodes get released audio on Tuesdays and video on Wednesdays, so check out that. Of course, Chad firing up the stream lately.
Yeah,
Playing
just
some
having
Ghostwire.
issue after issue with it, but yes, just having a great time.
Mike had issues with his. You're having
Yeah,
issue. Wow,
yeah.
you guys came
Well,
off
my
a break
issue,
and
my first issue was like unresolved. The second issue, my power just went out, so it was just like a fluke thing. But it just happened to be a week after the last one. So
Yeah, Chad's streaming over on YouTube during the day. He's plowing his way through Ghostwire Tokyo. You can check out me streaming stuff various nights throughout the week over on Twitch. Right now I'm working through Control, which I guess I'll just do it now because we'll probably never talk about Control again. But just want to issue a formal apology to Control, the game, and anyone who listened to our podcast episode covering Control. Because one, I don't remember if I actually beat the game, but I don't think I did.
no, you
And
didn't.
what I played, I just rushed through because I procrastinated way too long and didn't actually immerse myself in this world. And for the stream, I'm taking the exact opposite approach. I've read everything I've picked up. I've listened and watched everything I've picked up. And holy crap, this gameplay, super fun. The story is really interesting, but the
so
world here of
world's
Control,
best, yeah.
Holy crap, it's so good. Yeah. I'm streaming that. I'm also streaming Resident Evil 5 co-op playthrough with BioCiv. That's fun. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Subscribe and watch our shorts.
where you going? What are you doing?
What?
Don't stop it.
What?
We gotta vote.
Oh, we gotta vote for the giveaway. Man, I forget about all this stuff. Thank you, Nick. Whew. All right.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was Jordan that reminded Nick that.
Oh, yes. There were no additional Discord stories. So we have Kumino, Joe, and Dad the Cap.
He called in a lifeline. Like called in Jordan's like, hey, give me a story.
Yeah.
Give me a story, bro. I already know my vote. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Kumino here. Man, it's just scary to see what could be a ghost walking towards you, but even scarier and probably created some maybe issues after the fact that he was abandoned by his mother in the midst of this traumatic experience.
He should have kept up.
It is a little Haunting of Hill House style, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So Kumino has my vote. Nick, what do you got?
Kumino's is funnier for sure. Joe's is a bit more scary.
Is it though?
I mean,
I don't want to debate.
How often do you
I don't
see
want
a
to
doll
debate.
stand
it's just
up?
a wolf attack,
on
and
two
a dog
legs.
standing up on his legs.
True.
A dog does it all the time.
I mean,
Freaky.
a wolf could kill you, whereas I don't know if a ghost could.
But has
that been verified? Do we know what a ghost could do if it caught you?
If he legit saw what he say he saw, Kumino?
Generally, inhuman spirits would probably be the tied to the more murdersome or deaths. But
yeah, like that was the murder that he witnessed. Like, yep.
Yeah, inhuman spirits they're the ones to be scared from.
Yeah.
That's pretty spooky. I'll give it to Kumino.
Chad, you're
I mean, it's gonna be a clean sweep.
All right,
probably.
well,
Kumino, for sure.
This is already decided.
Although
Jordan, go.
Although I do think that the scarier story is the dude that broke into his house and stole his console multiple times, but we'll leave that for a different episode. Yeah. So come on, it's my vote.
So it's been decided, but Jordan, which story did you find a little more scary?
I mean, I was there for the candle. No, it's eerie, right? It's
Yeah.
I think it's probably the eeriest story. It's probably the most eerie setting out of everything. Because it's like I said, old like type of cement, withered away basement with a chain hanging out of the wall and
Blair
a
Witch
candle.
Project all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Well, see, if you would have like set
scary,
the
but-
scene like that, like during story time,
He was
Right.
trying to
no, I'm
remember.
with you. I'm with you 100%.
You almost
Jeff's
immediately blamed it on oxygen deficiency
Oh
in the room.
yeah. But that doesn't mean it's not creepy though, right?
That's true. That's true.
Even
you notice all the stories that have been given, they don't try to debunk their own story,
Right.
like, while they're telling it.
yeah. Well, that honestly, that at least tells you it's definitely something that really happened because it's like I'm recollecting it all. Because you could say even a ghost walks past a flame. It's the temperature and a little bit of shift in oxygen, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Kumino's fine. I think Jeff's is good. I'm gonna go Jeff just to go because I'm always the odd man out. I'm going Jeff.
I like it. I have two questions though. One
Mhm.
related, one unrelated. Well, I guess kind of related. First, like, did Jeff's dad not have electricity in his basement? Like, who walks around the basement with a candle?
People who are just trying to scare the shit out of themselves. It's just what you do. It's when you could go to Zor and go on a ghost hunt in the middle of the night, right? All these buildings have electricity, but you're walking through there with like flashlights. You go on a ghost hunt, right? You turn all the lights out because things are more prone to happen in the dark. It's
Second, involving lights, I noticed the light. I'm sorry, I'm just like observing your room right now.
Yeah.
Your light on your wall is literally just a light bulb.
There are actually a bunch of light bulbs tapered along the top. The camera just stops on that one where it starts going down towards the cord.
And it looks like the light bulb standing on top of the cord.
Yeah. It's pretty
does.
great.
Yeah.
That's the real scary story right there.
It's floating.
It's like if you've ever seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World when he's at the house party.
We're gonna do an actual controlled one here. Okay, I'm gonna
no
pick this
no
up.
controls. Throw us.
So it doesn't. You can see the lights go all the way across the top.
I see.
What is
Wow,
the black thing?
you never show.
I don't know actually.
Oh no, that's the bottom of the whatever I'm seeing. Never mind.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna say that's a printer
I was
tray.
like, it's exactly what it is. But I honestly, that's kind of scared the hell out of me. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the
Good call. What is that?
yeah. You should have seen me. I was seriously like, that's funny.
I win.
All right. Well, congratulations, Kumino. I will be
Kumino's mom
you.
For winning.
Go there, huh? I'll be getting a hold of you, getting an address where I can mail this bad boy out to. Yeah, thanks guys for hanging out. Thank you, Jordan, for coming on. And we will be we were ghost hunting. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. That's more
true.
sense.
You can only imagine how reluctant Stefan was to do that.
Especially after did this happen before or after the story you told me about Stefan, like at Stefan's house in his basement?
That was
the banshee.
That was our one guitarist Josh in Louisville, his grandmother's house. Yeah.
Okay. Before or after though?
This was probably before that actually.
And you still talked Stefan into going down there. Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You can only imagine how reluctant he was. Again, we're gonna end this, but that night at Josh's grandmother's house, we literally came in from the swimming pool, right? And we Stefan and I had to like change out of our swimsuits into like our clothes in the same room because everyone else in the other rooms. And so we're like back to back, right? Because swimsuits, whatever.
You don't go pole to pole.
Yeah. And there's like a acoustic guitar like laying against the corner. Like nothing's happened in this house. There's nothing scary about this house at all. We were literally eating Taco Bell and just swimming in the pool. So it's like leaning into the corner, and then it just goes. and again, we're like butt naked, and I'm just like, we're like
starting to notice a recurring theme with you, Jordan.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was no longer the fact that we were changing. Like that just happened. I don't care about anything else right now. You know what I mean? Like we were like
yeah, that would be terrifying.
It was just like, what the fuck was that? Like how is it even possible?
Well, fourth time's a charm. We're gonna head out of here tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure you tune in Monday night. Have a wonderful evening.
That's fun, guys. It's good. It's a good time. It's a good time. It's yeah, we're all better people now for it, aren't we?